In the spring of 1918, the fate of Europe hung by a thread. World War I had raged for nearly 4 years, and the Western Front was a scar of trenches, mud, and endless stalemate. But that was about to change. Germany, with its forces bolstered by troops from the now-defeated Eastern Front, launched a massive final gamble, the Spring Offensive. They aimed to break the Allied lines and capture Paris before the full might of the American Expeditionary Forces could be brought to bear. The offensive was shockingly successful at first. German stormtroopers shattered French and British defenses, advancing dozens of miles in a matter of days. Panic began to set in. By late May, the German army was on the Marne River, less than 60 miles from Paris. The French government was preparing to evacuate the capital. It seemed the war was lost. Standing in their way was a small, unassuming patch of woodland near the village of Château-Thierry. It was an old hunting preserve, dense with ancient trees, tangled undergrowth, and rocky outcrops. This was Belleau Wood. Strategically, it was a dagger pointed at the road to Paris. The German forces needed to take it to secure their flank and continue their push toward the French capital. The French divisions holding the line were exhausted, battered, and on the verge of collapse after weeks of relentless fighting and retreat. As the weary French soldiers fell back through the American positions, a French officer advised the newly arrived Americans to retreat as well. A Marine captain, Lloyd Williams, delivered a reply that would echo through history: retreat. Hell, we just got here. These weren't just any American soldiers. They were the 4th Marine Brigade, attached to the U.S. Army's 2nd Division. Many of them were fresh-faced, having never seen combat. They were about to be thrown into one of the most brutal battles of the war. On June 1st, 1918, the Germans launched their assault on Belleau Wood. The Marines, dug in along the edge of the forest, met them with a storm of accurate rifle fire. The German advance, which had seemed unstoppable, was halted dead in its tracks. But holding the line was only the beginning. The orders came down from high command: take the wood. What followed was 26 days of pure, unadulterated hell. The battle for Belleau Wood was not one of grand maneuvers or sweeping charges across open fields. It was a vicious, intimate struggle, fought tree by tree, rock by rock. The dense forest canopy turned day into a perpetual twilight, and the tangled undergrowth made movement nearly impossible. German machine gun nests, expertly hidden, created interlocking fields of fire that could shred a man in seconds. The fighting was so close that artillery was often useless, as shells would detonate in the trees above, raining down a deadly storm of shrapnel on friend and foe alike. It became a battle of rifles, bayonets, and bare hands. The Marines advanced in small groups, crawling on their bellies through the muck and debris, hunting for the next machine gun nest. They learned to move from cover to cover, using the terrain to their advantage. It was brutal, attritional warfare. Casualties were horrific. The woods were filled with the constant chatter of machine guns, the crack of rifles, and the screams of the wounded. One Marine unit, attacking a position known as the wheat field bordering the wood, suffered nearly 90% casualties in a single afternoon. Yet, they refused to break. They just kept pushing forward. This is where legends were forged. Men like Gunnery Sergeant Dan Daly, already a 2-time Medal of Honor recipient, rallied his men for an assault on a German machine gun emplacement. Leaping from cover, he roared, "Come on, you sons of bitches! Do you want to live forever?" His charge broke the German position. First Sergeant Charles Hoffman, another veteran, single-handedly charged and captured 2 machine gun nests with only a bayonet after his unit was pinned down. These acts of individual bravery were not isolated incidents. They were the standard. The Marines displayed a tenacity that stunned both their allies and their enemies. The Germans, who had faced the best armies Europe had to offer, were shocked by the ferocity of these Americans. They nicknamed the Marines Teufelhunden, or Devil Dogs, a moniker the Corps proudly embraces to this day. Slowly, painfully, the tide began to turn. The Marines' relentless pressure began to wear down the German defenders. They would capture one small section of the wood, consolidate their position, and then prepare for the next bloody push. They fought through poison gas attacks, relentless counterattacks, and the constant psychological strain of knowing that death was lurking behind every tree. The fighting was so intense that entire battalions were rendered combat ineffective in a matter of days, replaced by fresh reinforcements who were thrown immediately into the meat grinder. But inch by bloody inch, the woods were being cleared. Finally, on June 26th, after nearly a month of non-stop combat, the battle was over. A Marine major sent a simple, concise report. Woods, now U.S. Marine Corps, entirely. The cost was staggering. The 4th Marine Brigade suffered over 9,700 casualties, including nearly 2,000 killed, making it the deadliest battle in Marine Corps history up to that point. The woods were a wasteland, the trees stripped bare and the ground churned into a cratered moonscape, littered with the grim remnants of battle. But the victory was decisive. The capture of Belleau Wood plugged a critical hole in the Allied line, blunted the German advance on Paris, and marked a crucial psychological turning point. The seemingly invincible German war machine had been stopped. The legacy of Belleau Wood is immense. The battle single-handedly transformed the reputation of the United States Marine Corps. Before 1918, the Marines were a relatively small, obscure force, known mostly for interventions in Central America and the Caribbean. After Belleau Wood, they were recognized as an elite, world-class fighting force. The French were so grateful they officially renamed the forest Bois de la Brigade, de Marine, or Wood of the Marine Brigade. The battle became a cornerstone of Marine Corps lore, a symbol of the Corps ethos of courage, honor, and commitment. It proved that American soldiers could stand and fight against the most battle-hardened veterans of the German army and win. The Devil Dogs of Belleau Wood not only saved Paris, but they also carved their name into the annals of military history, creating a legend that continues to inspire generations of Marines. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more stories from history.